Now, according to some sources online, and I would definitely say it's the international break, so take some of this with a pinch of salt, but according to some sources online, and yes, I watched the Anfield agenda, there is a Zubimendi deal that is still floating around somewhere in the ether. I believe it was David Lynch during a conversation with the beloved Craig of Anfield Agenda, saying that the way that it all played out in the end, the fact that Zubimendi does not have a new deal, the fact that Marino was allowed to leave and they couldn't let two of those guys leave in one window, possibly means that Liverpool may still have something here on the table, or Zubimendi may still have something on the table, or both people have something on a fictional slash hypothetical table. We don't know at this point, but the fun comes in speculating about it. Now, I'm not saying that I have any inside information, but what I'm saying is Zubimendi would still look like a very good signing for Liverpool. And if it is still on, which it may still be, because David Lynch even revealed, I believe it was David Lynch anyway, revealed that Zubimendi called Richard Hughes himself to explain the decision as to why he did not move between the two clubs. And that kept relations, and I quote, not that I'm actually quoting, warm. It's always nice when relationships are warm, guys, and maybe it kept the table warm. Who knows? Either way, it's the international break. Go with me here. After looking at Liverpool's Champions League draw, after looking at the run-in that they have in November, I kind of hoped that Liverpool maybe would have gotten one more midfielder, and especially when you look at the fact that for the last three games, Liverpool have started the same midfield consistently, which to an extent slightly worries me. To an extent is maybe that Slot is coaching the other players up to a certain level. If it was Jurgen Klopp doing this, we'd go, oh, he's changed system, he's trying to bring them up to the level, he's trying to make sure that they all understand the system. What you're not getting is that he needs to give people a month or two. Fabinho didn't play until blah, blah, blah. And think of it this way, right? What a sliding doors moment for someone like Ryan Gravenberch, who is a good player, but is still very young, who has only played a third as many games for Liverpool, almost half actually now, as he did for Ajax, and only just this season surpassed the amount of games, or the end of last season, surpassed the amount of games that he played for Liverpool with the Bayern Munich total. Basically, he played more goals for Liverpool than he played for Bayern Munich. It feels weird that last season he was so fringe, and now he feels so central, but at the same time, it also makes sense that Liverpool need another central midfielder, that they need someone else, that if Gravenberch can't play, if McAllister needs rotating, if I know Szoboszlai can drop a little deeper and possibly play that role, but I'm really enjoying him in this runner role. If we actually play a midfield that is, say, good, then we will need something else. Possibly even just a substitution, possibly even just a little change. And knowing that someone like Gravenberch could back up a Zubimendi, or Zubimendi could play for a little bit of time, would have been very reassuring. And depth, shifts in the pattern of play during the game are all things that I would have liked to see. Shifting the emphasis, the way that we win the ball back, all those kind of things. All the things that Gravenberch is now doing feel Zubimendi-ish. But what I would actually say is they actually feel six-ish in a double pivot. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Ryan Gravenberch, so I don't want to cover that too much. But what a sliding doors moment. What a moment of, would he be playing in this team in this way if it wasn't for the collapse of the transfer or the collapse of whatever you want to call it? I would possibly say he wouldn't be playing in the team right now, or at least not to the consistent level. But also, looking at the rest of that team, in your Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott's, the fact that Tyler Morton is still staying as backup, the fact that we've let Stefan Bajcetic go out, there's just something in me that says this midfield needs to grow just a modicum more. And then the other thing I really wanted to address, which kind of annoyed me after the last Manchester United game, all the coverage post-game was obviously absolutely praising Liverpool. We've now swung back a little bit the other way to say, actually, maybe it was more of an even game than we realised. Maybe 3-0 doesn't really acknowledge what it is that happened in the game. It does. But what I'm actually want to cover is, first of all, everyone's already thrown Casemiro under the bus. And that's fine. But that's not the point of why Liverpool won the ball back. Liverpool bait those passes. Liverpool bait the front four pressing to separate from the midfield, putting the space in there. They put Gravenberch on the side of Kobe Mainoo so that he just float past him. They put like Casemiro in that position and then made him pass into that passing lane so that Ryan Gravenberch could then just come through and intercept it. This isn't all done off instinct, guys. This is not just Slot going, maybe go out there and see if you can win the ball back somehow. with all the notes that we're getting on what Slot is saying to the players, apparently the quote in, was it Lewis Steele's article today it's like going back to school for some of these players. Everything he predicted we see in the game. You often hear that from a lot of managers. I think a lot of managers probably could predict games blow for blow or kick for kick. They'll know what the opposition are most likely to play. They'll want to reassure the players, all those kind of things. But a big thing that I understand of that is that the coach in Arne Slot has brought out so many more facets of so many of these players. Szoboszlai wasn't playing this well for his national team. He certainly wasn't playing this well for Liverpool. He was playing well, but he wasn't playing this well for Liverpool. Alexis McAllister wasn't playing in this actually slightly more introverted slash selfless role that we now see him in, roaming all over the field and trying to help the other players around him, but also being that more sure double pivot. I covered this a bit in my last video. It's still up there for you guys to take a look at. But what we're also seeing is that Liverpool are now beginning to read the opposition and begin to transition into this, maybe we don't need to be this fixed. Like if Jota goes out there and Diaz goes inside, then we're going to create more space over here, over here. That's going to make a big difference for this Liverpool team. And I know that in retrospect, it's always very easy to put, you know, the bits together because we see the genius of Arne Slot. But again, I think we do still need to acknowledge that when teams begin to work this out, having a Zubimendi, having just someone in that team who can A, think on the fly, B, be very good at changing the tempo, changing the flow of the ball, where it's going to go, or, and this is what I think maybe a surprise some people, and I'll speak about this a little bit more in the Gravenberch video, we're seeing that Liverpool are now moving the ball in such a different fashion. They're baiting Manchester United in. They've got a much more solid centre-back pairing, or did at least against Manchester United. It's making Gravenberch better. And the immediate movement of people like, well, Szoboszlai immediately ahead of him, the support of someone like McAllister, and the pushing wide of someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold to the right side to leave Salah on the inside and put Jota just in that perfect passing lane for Gravenberch or someone like that, and Diaz just spreading over there. So far it's worked. And it's worked really well because, well, Liverpool are very good at baiting these things and opposition teams are very good at getting sucked into those things. But let's be real. Multiple times in the last game, Liverpool also had the midfield completely bypassed. Trent was left halfway down the field. Robertson was kind of a little bit too wide. It really was just Konate and Van Dijk. And I think a huge amount of this is speaking to the quality of these players too. A huge amount of this is saying, we have two great centre-backs that are going to make this midfield better. That midfield being better is going to make Szoboszlai's movement even better. That Szoboszlai movement is going to give Jota, Diaz and Salah way more space and is going to pull the opposition even further apart. But guess what? We're going to meet people who are going to sit deep. Pep Guardiola is certainly one of those guys who's good at pulling the opposition apart, working out where the weak links are. And if that was Arsenal, who was counter-attacking against Liverpool, their decision-making would have been better. Yes, Liverpool's decision-making in the midfield has drastically improved. Where we want the ball to move is improving. Zubimendi's decision-making, his executive decision-making in terms of the ball's actually going to go over here now, the ball's actually going to go over here now, this is how the move's going to play out, is certainly desirable for this Liverpool team, put it that way. And I think the final thing is stripping the game of the emotion, which, again, I think that is very interesting that we wanted to target Zubimendi, that we're looking for people who fit the Arne Slot type mental profile as well as physical and technical profile. And then on top of that, focusing on those details again, something that Zubimendi is very good at. I think what we're going to see is when we come back from this international break, after speaking in the Pep Guardiola sense of this was just an extension of pre-season, I love that quote of him saying pre-season is now over, when we come back from the international break, the real football begins. He's kind of right. Like, this international break is going to give Arne Slot a lot of time to work with some of these guys, your Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, even Endo, some of those other guys in the midfield. We've stripped the squad back now. I actually think that not landing Zubimendi has made some of these guys a little bit more sure of where they're going to play, whether they're going to play, the shape in which Liverpool are going to play. They're probably assigning those roles right now around the midfield and trying to understand what the best way to get Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, all these guys out there is. And let's be honest, I don't think signing Chiesa is a complete reaction to letting go of Harvey Elliott out on that right-sided role. I think actually we're going to let go of him in that role and bring him into the centre. But bringing him on is still very much a core part of the team, I think. Bringing him on and putting him in that 10, next to a Chiesa, next to a Jota, next to Diaz, That's going to be really interesting to watch that play out, especially in games where we want to rest Szoboszlai, especially in cup games. It's about teaching this system now. 2 more videos to come this week. One is about the rise of Ryan Gravenberch, or the sliding doors moment, the big change for him. The other will be about Arne Slot's first 3 competitive games for Liverpool and what we're going to expect in the coming games, and how we get from this international break until January, when possibly we'll bring in some reinforcements, possibly we'll be reassessing the squad, possibly we'll actually be getting some deals over the line that we didn't get done in the summer that we would actually quite like to get done in January. Let me know in the comments below what it is that you guys feel is most pertinent for Liverpool right now, whether Zubimendi is still very much possible, and whether what you've seen early on, similar to me, has actually made you think more about why we should have signed him than, oh, actually, I think we're okay, because that seems a little simplistic to me. But let me know in the comments below, and I'll chat to you guys in a while. Much love. Bye.